To the post-lunch session of the concluding day of ICA Regional Hub Conference, Kolkata. And in this session, we will start with a very interesting panel. The subject of the panel is Emerging Trends and Challenges in Multidisciplinary Research, Preparing for the Future of Knowledge. We have two very distinguished panelists for this session. Professor Nivedita Chanda, Professor, Rabindra Bharati University, Mass Communication and Videography Department, and Professor Dr. Shantanu Chattopadhyay, Professor and Director, School of Journalism and Mass Communication, Jadavpur University. I welcome both of you and request both of you on stage, please. To moderate the session, we have the pleasure to invite Dr. Sanjay Sengupta, Assistant Dean, School of Arts, Media and Design, Sister Nivedita University. Sanjay sir, I will request you to come on stage. Let me have the honor of introducing our guests. Professor Nivedita Chanda did his schooling from Don Bosco Park Circus, Kolkata. He joined St. Xavier's College, from where he graduated with honors in English. He did his master's from the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, University of Kolkata. He qualified both NET and SET and was awarded Junior Research Fellowship by the UGC. Having qualified the Indian Information Service exam conducted by UPSC, he joined the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, as a gazetted officer. Having served the central government, he resigned from IIS, returned to Kolkata, and joined a college under the University of Calcutta. He joined his present position in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Rabindra Bharati University, in the year 2006, where he is currently the professor and head. I have the honor to invite Professor Dr. Snehashi Shur on stage to felicitate Professor Nivedita Chanda. I would request Snehashi sir to stay on stage to felicitate Dr. Shantanu Chattopadhyay. Dr. Shantanu Chattopadhyay is a professor and director of the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. He completed 2 full terms as head of the erstwhile Department of Adult Continuing Education and Extension of Jadavpur University. He had also been the coordinator of MA in Journalism and Mass Communication and postgraduate diploma in Mass Communication in Jadavpur University. He was a gold medalist in MA in Journalism from the University of Calcutta and was also awarded PhD from there. His doctoral thesis dealt with municipal public relations. His several research articles have been published in various journals. Thank you, Sanjay sir. Now let me introduce our moderator, Dr. Sanjay Sengupta, the Assistant Dean, School of Arts, Media and Design, Sister Nivedita University. A practicing artist, researcher, and educator, his current work integrates teaching, academic leadership, and advanced research in Indian visual culture. His research broadly focuses on traditional and indigenous art practices of Eastern India, with particular emphasis on Bengal's wooden sculpture, ritual painting traditions, terracotta temple architecture, and the historical interface between art, craft, and pedagogy from the early medieval to the colonial period. His publications have contributed to the study of Bengal art traditions and material culture. I request Dr. Minal Parikh ma'am to come on stage and felicitate Dr. Sanjay Sengupta sir. Now over to Sanjay sir.
Hello. Very good afternoon to one and all present over here. We understand that we are running a bit late, and hence we'll try to keep the session brief, crisp, but meaningful. Our topic is emerging trends and challenges in multidisciplinary research, preparing for the future of knowledge. We have two esteemed panelists, as already has been announced, Professor Devajyoti Chando and Professor Shantanu Chattopadhyay. I request Professor Chando to share his deliberations on the topic.
Hello. Respected session chair and distinguished panelist, Professor Shantanu Chattopadhyay, esteemed colleagues, scholars, researchers, students, and friends, good afternoon. It is indeed a privilege to participate in this panel discussion on a subject that lies at the heart of contemporary academic inquiry: emerging trends and challenges in multidisciplinary research, preparing for the future of knowledge. The topic is particularly relevant because we are witnessing a profound transformation in the way knowledge is produced, disseminated, and utilized across societies. In many ways, the 21st century may be described as an era in which knowledge itself has become the most valuable economic, social, and strategic resource. Traditionally, wealth was associated with land, labor, and capital. The Industrial Revolution navigated machinery and manufacturing as engines of economic growth. However, in the contemporary world, knowledge, innovation, information, and creativity have emerged as the primary drivers of development. This transition has given rise to what scholars describe as the knowledge economy, an economy in which the creation, circulation, management, and application of knowledge become the principal sources of value and competitive advantage. Thinkers have argued that modern societies are increasingly organized around knowledge production rather than industrial production. In a knowledge economy, universities, research institutions, media organizations, think tanks, digital platforms, and innovation ecosystems become central actors in national development, Intellectual capital often becomes more valuable than physical capital. Innovation becomes more important than mere production. Ideas become strategic resources. This transformation has fundamentally altered the nature of research itself. Knowledge is no longer produced merely for academic advancement or disciplinary curiosity. It is expected to contribute to innovation, public policy, social transformation, technological development, and sustainable growth. Governments increasingly invest in research because knowledge has become a strategic asset. Universities are now expected not only to generate knowledge, but also to create impact. Yet the challenges confronting contemporary societies are becoming increasingly complex. Climate change, artificial intelligence, public health crisis, migration, digital inequality, cybersecurity, misinformation, sustainable development, and geopolitical tensions are not isolated phenomena. They are interconnected problems embedded within interconnected systems. Consequently, the knowledge economy has created a growing demand for research approaches capable of addressing complexity. This is where multidisciplinary research assumes enormous significance. For centuries, universities were organized around distinct disciplines. Sociology studied society, economics studied markets, political science studied governance, communication studies examined media and culture, and computer science focused on technological systems. These disciplinary structures provided depth, specialization, and methodological rigor. However, contemporary problems rarely fit within a single disciplinary boundary. Consider climate change. Environmental scientists can explain rising temperatures and ecological degradation. Economists can estimate the costs of mitigation and adaptation. Political scientists can analyze international climate negotiations. Communication scholars can investigate climate narratives and public engagement. Sociologists can study environmental inequalities. Each discipline contributes valuable insights, but none can fully explain the problem independently. A comprehensive understanding emerges when these perspectives are brought together. Similarly, the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the limitations of disciplinary isolation. Virologists and epidemiologists examined the virus itself. Physiologists investigated fear, anxiety, and behavioral responses. Communication researchers studies misinformation, vaccine hesitancy, and risk communication. Economists analyze economic disruptions and recovery strategies. Data scientists model transmission patterns. The successful management of the crisis depended not on a single discipline, but on a coordinated contribution of multiple fields of expertise. Artificial intelligence provides another compelling example. AI is often viewed primarily as a technological innovation, yet its implications extend far beyond computer science. Questions concerning algorithmic bias, ethics, privacy, labor displacement, misinformation, intellectual property, and governance require insights from philosophy, law, sociology, communication studies, economics, and political science. The development and regulation of AI, therefore, represent not merely a technological challenge, but a multidisciplinary societal challenge. At this point, it becomes important to distinguish between multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and convergence research, terms that are frequently used interchangeably but actually represent different approaches to knowledge production. In multidisciplinary research, scholars from different disciplines collaborate around a common problem while retaining their individual disciplinary perspectives. Knowledge from different fields is brought together, but the disciplines themselves remain distinct. Each discipline contributes its own theories, concepts, and methodologies. Interdisciplinary research goes a step further. Here, concepts, theories, and methods from different disciplines are integrated to create new frameworks of understanding. Fields such as political communication, health communication, environmental communication, and cultural studies emerged through interdisciplinary synthesis. The boundaries between disciplines become more permeable, and new intellectual spaces emerge. Convergence research represents perhaps the most advanced form of integration. It involves the deep collaboration of disciplines, technologies, industries, policymakers, and communities to solve a specific societal problem. The objective is not only to understand reality, but to transform it. For example, the development of AI-assisted healthcare systems requires collaboration among physicians, engineers, computer scientists, ethicists, legal experts, government agencies, and industry stakeholders. Knowledge creation and practical problem solving becomes inseparable. The growing significance of multidisciplinary research is reflected in several emerging trends shaping contemporary scholarship. One of the most significant developments in this rise of computational social science. The enormous volume of digital data generated through online interactions have encouraged collaborators among communication scholars, sociologists, statisticians, computer scientists. Researchers are now capable of studying social movements, election campaigns, public opinion, media consumption, and digital culture on an unprecedented scale. Another important trend in the development of digital humanities, historians, literary scholars, communication researchers, activists, and computer scientists increasingly work together to preserve, analyze, and interpret cultural artifacts through digital technologies. The use of artificial intelligence, text mining, and network analysis has transformed traditional humanities research and opened new possibilities for understanding culture and history. Sustainability research offers another compelling example. The achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals requires collaboration from environmental scientists, economists, communication experts, urban planners, engineers, and policymakers. Sustainability itself has become a multidisciplinary endeavor because environmental challenges are inseparable from social, economic, political, and cultural realities. Health communication research similarly demonstrates the value of multidisciplinary collaboration. Contemporary public health campaigns increasingly combine medical expertise with communication strategies, behavioral science, psychology, and digital analytics. Scientific discoveries alone do not guarantee positive social outcomes. Effective communication often serves as a bridge between knowledge and action. The growing integration of neuroscience and communication research is yet another emerging trend. Scholars now employ eye-tracking technologies, EEG analysis, and cognitive science methodologies to understand media effects, audience behavior, political persuasion, and advertising effectiveness. Such collaborations are expanding our understanding of human communication in remarkable ways. Despite these developments, multidisciplinary research faces significant challenges. One major challenge concerns epistemology. Different disciplines often possess different assumptions regarding what constitutes valid knowledge. A data scientist may prioritize prediction and measurement, while a communication scholar may emphasize interpretation and context. Reconciling these perspectives require intellectual openness and dialogue. Methodological differences present another challenge. Researchers trained in quantitative traditions frequently approach problems differently from those trained in qualitative traditions. Integrating methodological diversity can be difficult, yet it often produces richer and more comprehensive insights. Institutional barriers continue to persist as well. Universities remain largely organized around departments and disciplinary structures. Funding mechanisms, publication systems, and academic evaluation criteria often reward specialization rather than collaboration. Consequently, multidisciplinary researchers frequently encounter structural obstacles. Communication barriers also emerge because every discipline develops its own conceptual vocabulary and intellectual culture. Effective multidisciplinary collaboration therefore requires scholars to become translators, capable of communicating across disciplinary boundaries. Questions of evaluation pose additional challenges. How should multidisciplinary research be assessed? How do reviewers evaluate work that spans multiple fields? Traditional peer review systems are often not designed to accommodate multidisciplinary scholarship. Academic institutions must therefore develop more flexible frameworks for evaluating collaborative research. For scholars of media and communication studies, these developments carry particular significance. In many respects, media studies has always been multidisciplinary by nature. Unlike disciplines that emerge from a singular intellectual tradition, communication studies evolve through contributions from sociology, psychology, political science, anthropology, linguistics, philosophy, cultural studies, and later information science. From Harold Lasswell's political communication studies to Marshall McLuhan's technological insights, from Stuart Hall's cultural analysis to Manuel Castell's network society, the field has constantly drawn upon diverse intellectual traditions to understand the relationship between communication, society, technology, and power. However, the contemporary media landscape has made multidisciplinary engagement not merely desirable, but absolutely indispensable. Today, communication processes are embedded within complex technological, political, economic, and cultural systems. Media platforms are no longer merely channels for transmitting information. They have become algorithmically governed infrastructures, data-driven economic enterprises, political actors, cultural institutions, and sites of identity formation. Understanding such complexity requires knowledge that extends far beyond the conventional boundaries of media studies. Consider the phenomena of social media algorithms. Understanding algorithmic visibility requires not only communication theory, but also insights from computer science, data analytics, behavioral psychology, economics, and critical platform studies. Questions concerning why certain narrative trends, why some voices gain visibility while others remain marginalized, and how algorithms shape public opinion cannot be answered through communication theories alone. They demand multidisciplinary inquiry. Similarly, research on misinformation and disinformation has emerged as one of the defining concerns of our era. Scholars studying misinformation today engage with psychology to understand cognitive biases, political science to examine ideological polarization, data science to trace information flows, journalism studies to evaluate credibility, and communication theory to analyze message dissemination. The complexity of the problem necessitates methodological and theoretical collaboration across disciplines. The growing influence of artificial intelligence provides another compelling example. The integration of AI into journalism, advertising, public relations, and digital communication has generated entirely new research agendas. Scholars are now examining automated journalism, AI-generated content, algorithmic bias, deep fakes, synthetic media, and human-machine communication. These investigations require collaboration among communication researchers, computer scientists, ethicists, legal scholars, and policy experts. The future of communication research will increasingly depend upon our ability to understand technological systems alongside social and cultural processes. Furthermore, contemporary media research is increasingly concerned with platform governance and digital sovereignty. Questions regarding content moderation, data privacy, digital rights, surveillance, and platform accountability require engagement with law, public policy, political economy, and technology studies. The communication scholar of today must be capable of navigating these interconnected domains if they are to meaningfully contribute to public debates and policy making. This becomes particularly relevant in the context of emerging research areas such as digital diplomacy, strategic communication, nation branding, and the construction of national identity in digital spaces. The representation of nations on social media platforms are simultaneously a matter of international relations, public diplomacy, political communication, cultural studies, branding, and data analytics. When governments communicate through digital platforms, they are not only disseminating information, they are constructing narratives, negotiating identities, exercising soft power, and engaging in strategic relationship building with global audiences. Such phenomena can only be adequately understood through interdisciplinary frameworks. Indeed, one may argue that communication occupies a unique position within the contemporary knowledge economy because communication functions as a mechanism through which knowledge itself acquires value. Knowledge becomes socially relevant only when it is communicated, shared, interpreted, circulated, and transformed into action. Every innovation, every scientific discovery, every policy intervention, every technological breakthrough depends ultimately upon communication processes. In this sense, communication is not merely another academic discipline, it is one of the foundational infrastructures of the knowledge economy itself. Consequently, media and communication studies is increasingly evolving into what some scholars describe as a hub discipline, a field that connects diverse domains of knowledge and facilitates dialogue among them. As communication scholars, our responsibility is not only to study media systems, but also to understand how communication interacts with technology, governance, culture, economics, and society. The future of media research, therefore, lies in embracing multidisciplinary collaborations while retaining the critical perspectives that have always distinguished the discipline. As we prepare the future of knowledge, we must recognize that the most significant questions confronting society are also communication questions. How do people trust information? How are identities constructed in digital environments? How do algorithms influence public discourse? How do nations communicate with global publics? How does artificial intelligence reshape human interaction? These are not questions that belong to one discipline alone. These are questions that require multidisciplinary imagination, collaborative inquiry, and intellectual openness. For this reason, media and communication studies is not merely participating in the multidisciplinary turn of contemporary academia, it is helping to lead it. Allow me to conclude by suggesting that the future of knowledge will be shaped not by the boundaries we preserve, but by the conversations we create across those boundaries. In the 20th century, if the 20th century was an age of specialization, the 21st century is rapidly becoming an age of integration. The most transformative discoveries of the coming decades are likely to emerge not from isolated disciplines, but from meaningful collaborations among them. Our responsibility as researchers, educators, and scholars is therefore clear. We must cultivate disciplinary depth while embracing intellectual openness. We must encourage collaboration without sacrificing rigor. We must produce knowledge that is not only innovative, but also socially relevant, ethically grounded, and transformative in its impact. In an increasingly interconnected world, multidisciplinary research is no longer simply an academic preference. It is an intellectual necessity, a strategic imperative of the knowledge economy, and perhaps the most promising pathway for preparing the future of knowledge. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Chando, for your insightful elaboration. Next, I would like to invite Professor Shantanu Chattopadhyay to share his thoughts and observations on the topic.
Hello. On. Hello. Honorable Session Chair, my esteemed colleagues present in the auditorium, and dear students, and last but not the least, my very good friend and my co-panelist here, Professor Chando. The session chair actually gave an hint that we are running out of time. So, and Professor Chando has helped me a lot with his powerful presentation. It's really, I have very less things actually to discuss about the theme of this particular session. But with the permission of chair, I want to expand the ambit of this discussion from only multidisciplinary to interdisciplinary to transdisciplinary approach of research. Now, Professor Chando has elaborately discussed about multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity. And it is known to all of us that social science by nature is interdisciplinary in nature, because it actually deals with human behavior, societal structure, and interpersonal relationship. And multidisciplinary approach where two different disciplines actually moves together. Interdisciplinary thing is to actually converge those two things into a new one. Say like we know cognitive science. Cognitive science actually is a combination of science, humanities, this kind of thing. But what transdisciplinary research is? Transdisciplinary research is, I think we have to walk another few more steps, where the research or the approach of pursuit for knowledge be actually rooted to the society. I mean, if we talk about climate adaptation research is interdisciplinary in nature. But the application of climate adaptation has to be ended with community acceptance. If the members, maximum members of the community, they don't actually accept the spirit of that research, then the transdisciplinary thing cannot take place. So transdisciplinary thing is the future, I think, where the interdisciplinary pursuit of knowledge actually be more helpful for the society, and it can be more important for the area of social science. Now, when I talk about transdisciplinary research, I take this opportunity to mention about a very important book which was published in 2008, the Handbook of Transdisciplinary Research. I take the privilege to quote few lines from that. That transdisciplinary research actually aims at identifying, structuring, analyzing, and handling issues in problem fields with aspiration A to grasp the relevant complexity of a problem. B, to take into account the diversity of life world and scientific perspective of the problems. C, to link abstract and case-specific knowledge. And D, develop knowledge and practices to promote what is perceived to be the common good. So this thing is very important for the social science when research is not confined within the, say, the institutions, research institutes. So knowledge, where knowledge should be free. So transdisciplinary approach, I think, is very much related with the future of knowledge. And we are also aware of several theories related to this kind of activities or approach. Professor Chanda has mentioned some of them. I don't want to repeat those, but systems theory paradigm, I think, is very important for this kind of study where the system as a whole has been taken into account, and most importantly, the role of individual is very different, because if any individual fails to perform his or her duty, then the entire system can collapse. So this is the interdisciplinarity inside a system. So system theory paradigm, once again, is very, very important for transdisciplinarity, and more specifically, going beyond core disciplinary studies. And I want to focus on to the challenges, what we or the researchers today are actually facing. Number one, I start with networking. In networking, it is not at all the increasing of familiarity. Networking means that it is the networking of new ideas, new knowledge, new innovations. So if this networking can go beyond the familiarity ecosystem, then only the interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, or transdisciplinarity can actually be helpful in the arena of research. Then the understanding of chronology in contextualization. This is very important for me. See, for instance, we can say in 1857, the Great Indian Revolution took place. Then just after 2 years, the Indigo Revolt took place. If someone studying communication is actually conducting a research on the role or impact of newspaper during that period, we can see sea change of intervention of the newspapers. So 2 years is not a big time period, not at all a very big gap. But if we actually focus on how Indian media intervened during 1857 and how they changed their role during Indigo Revolt, then we have to understand what are the socio-political developments took place during those 2 years. The famine and the tax extortion on the farmers, that actually changed the perception of the society, and that perception was reflected in the journalism. Then theory to ground replication. See, communication theories, we can refer so many communication theories. But as I mentioned about transdisciplinary approach, the core of which is how to transplant that particular thing in a particular society. So this replication of a particular model, this is very important. And here, the researcher has to be pragmatic. And pragmatically and positively, that particular thing has to be actually placed within a society after considering the variables, socio-economical, political, and cultural variable of different societies. So, understanding different societies in different ways, this is also a very important feature of pluralism, and I think of interdisciplinarity too. Epistemological and methodological conflict. Professor Nivedita Chanda has mentioned this. Actually, methodology should not be rigid, especially for interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. So the flexibility of once again understanding the society, understanding the context will help the researcher to find something new. And it is needless to mention that the fundamental aspect of research is to find out a new knowledge. This is not compilation at all. Then institutional structure and the possibility, huge possibility of interdisciplinarity or transdisciplinarity. Professor Chanda has mentioned about some structure, some formal structure present in the university system or institutions. Fortunately, I am coming from the university, Jadavpur University. Jadavpur University has institutionalized the interdisciplinarity approach, and our school actually is associated with the Faculty of Interdisciplinary Studies. So this scope is very important, and if such scope is given, then only interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary research can actually flourish. Difficulty in synthesizing data across vastly different disciplines. So this coherence, this sense of coherence is very important. How two different subjects, that's why I use the term transplantation. See, when transplantation of heart takes place, the matching of blood group is a prerequisite. So, transplanting something, that means you have to be guided by some preconditions. And for our social science discipline, the precondition is to understanding the society. Stakeholder management is very important especially for transdisciplinary approach, because transdisciplinary approach actually speaks of planting the thing inside the society. So what actually Daniel Lerner said, it has to be empathetic in nature. So this sense of empathy can guide one researcher to actually plant something new within the society. Proper mapping or scalability. Actually, this is another problem of interdisciplinary research, that quantifying is a very big problem. Qualitative approach is accepted, but quantifying something, quantifying is more convincing, always more convincing in nature. So, this is another big challenge to quantify the area of transdisciplinarity. And finally, the reward of research. In the society we live, the academicians, they enjoy their they are actually paid and their future is protected. So they actually enjoy social protection out of their profession. But for researcher, this is sad to say that we are yet to find that kind of endeavor or environment where researchers can pursue research with no burden. So that kind of social approach or social responsibility rather. This is also very important for pursuit of knowledge. So thank you very much. I think I have not repeated much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chattopadhyay, for your contextual elaboration on the topic. The session is open now for taking a couple of quick questions. If any of the audience would like to comment or ask any question. If not, then just a small curiosity from my side, means no matter whether we call it multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary, does any form of such academic research actually help the media profession, means on ground? Means how does it happen, or how does the mechanism work?
Hello. Let's take, for example, psychology and literature, and how reading of books can influence the mind. And we have seen often that there are many areas of research where interdisciplinary research today is becoming very, very important. My doctor friend was telling me the other day that we are increasingly seeing stroke among children. I said, why? And then he said me, the too much of use of the mobile phone, children are sleeping less than 5 hours a day, and that is leading to stroke, this addiction. So otherwise, a mobile phone is very, very useful. But today, most of the time, we are using the mobile phone to see reels. But I collected most of the information that I shared today here from the mobile phone. Everything good is there, but it depends how we use it.
I think you have asked about implication of research with core media world. Am I right? So, as an instance, if we talk about hypothetically research about ownership pattern of media, it is havocly changing nowadays. That particular thing can have direct impact on the media world. This is just one example. There can be several such things, like Professor Chand has mentioned about attention span, how to deal with that. So this kind of things, and of course audience survey. In fact, all the media organizations, they alter their presentation based on audience research. So this has direct impact on the media industry.
Thank you, both the esteemed panelists. And with that, we come to the end of this session. So I sincerely thank all the audience for their patient hearing and time. Thank you.
I would request all of you to stay on stage to receive the certificates, please. We have the honor to call Professor Dr. Survi Dahiya ma'am, who is also the ICA program committee member, to come on stage to hand over the certificates to Devojyoti sir and Shantam sir. And also, I would like to call upon Buro Shiva sir on stage, sir. Thank you all. Next, we will move on to the plenary session. For the plenary session, we have the topic, Who Owns Visibility? Media, Power, and the Politics of Being Seen. For this plenary session, we have the honor of having Professor Dr. Survi Dahiya and Professor Dr. Subha H.S. as the very honorable and very esteemed panelist. And this panel will be moderated by Dr. Pritha Chakraborty, Associate Professor, Sister Nivedita University. I would call upon Subha ma'am and Survi Dahiya ma'am on stage, and also Pritha ma'am on stage. Let me have the honor of introducing our esteemed panelists. We have Professor Survi Dahiya with us, Professor and HOD, Department of Media Business Studies, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. Dr. Survi Dahiya is presently the Professor and HOD in Department of Media Business Studies. She also served as the Course Director of English Journalism and Ad and Peer Department, Dean Students Welfare, and Editor Communicator. She is a member of the Academic Council and served as a member of Executive Council of IIMC-2. Internationally, Professor Dahiya has represented India at many platforms. She is the IAMCR Faculty Ambassador and an elected member of International Council. She is the Vice President of South Asian Communication Association. Professor Dahiya was the SUSI Scholar from India in 2017 and completed the study of the United States Institute program organized by the United States Department of State, conducted at the Ohio University, USA. Dr. Dahiya is also an advisor to Lok Sabha Secretariat for their publication. It's a real honor for us to having ma'am on stage. I would like to call upon Dr. Minal Parekh ma'am to felicitate Dr. Survi Dahiya ma'am. We also have the honor of having Professor Subha H.S., the Director and Professor Coordinator, Multimedia Resource Center, Manipal Institute of Communication with us. She is a distinguished media educator, communication scholar, and academic leader with over 2 decades of experience in higher education. Her interdisciplinary academic engagements span media and communication, social work, and public health at MAHE campuses in India and UAE. A trained media literacy educator, she has delivered lectures and academic engagements in the UAE, Germany, and at leading institutions across India. Her expertise encompasses media literacy, communication skills training, scripting, direction, and audiovisual storytelling. She handles courses in human communication, radio production, public speaking, media writing, sound design, and aesthetics. It's once again an honor for us to have Ma'am with us. I would like to call upon Buro Shiva Dasgupta sir on stage to felicitate Shubha ma'am. And now I would request my colleague Pritha ma'am, Associate Professor Dr. Pritha Chakraborty from Sister Nivedita University to take over.
Thank you so much, Professor Majumdar. Welcome to the closing plenary. We wanted to close the conference and we made a very conscious choice to close the conference with a statement, a question which will remain with you. The question that allows you to introspect. Who owns visibility? Media power and the politics of being seen. Visibility has never been neutral in an era of algorithmically curated attention, platform monopolies, and accelerating media consolidation. The question of who gets to be seen on whose terms has become one of the most urgent in communication studies. This topic interrogates visibility, not as a technical condition of media access, but as political economy of recognition. To be visible is not simply to appear. It is to appear legibly within frameworks of representation that are themselves shaped by powers and ideologies. Whose story circulates, whose suffering commands attention, and who controls the infrastructures that determine the boundaries of the seeable. We invite first Professor Surbhi into the conversation about media power, contested representation, and the ongoing struggles to reclaim visibility as a democratic resource. We welcome you, ma'am. Ma'am, Pritha.
So thank you so much, Pritha. I would first of all like to thank the organizing committee, especially Dr. Meenal, and all the members who organized this ICA SNU regional hub. Because, you know, as the topic goes, visibility, because India should also have visibility on international platforms. So thank you so much for organizing this and having me here. My topic, it's an honor to speak in this plenary session on a very profoundly important question that who owns visibility, media power, and the politics of being seen. This topic goes to the very heart of communication, rather communication studies, I would say, democracy, technology, culture, and power. Because today, visibility is not merely about being seen. It is not merely about being seen. Visibility determines who matters, who is heard, who influences public opinion, who receives opportunities, who attracts investments, who shapes the narratives, and increasingly, who exists in the public imagination. So visibility is very, very important because especially in this digital age, visibility has become a form of power. And like all forms of power, it is, unevenly distributed. Because visibility is no longer a natural outcome of public relevance. It is increasingly produced, it is increasingly being managed, commodified, controlled by powerful media institutions, digital platforms, algorithms, governments, corporations, and of course, economic structures. So the question is therefore not simply who is visible, but rather who has the power to make others visible or invisible also. Because visibility is power. And historically, all of us know that power was associated with land, with wealth, with military, with, political authority. Today, if you talk about power, power increasingly, resides in attention. I'm sure all of you must have heard about attention economy. So the contemporary economy is often described as the attention economy, because in such an economy, attention can create an influence. And influence can create a sort of legitimacy. Legitimacy can create a sort of authority. And authority does create power. So the ability to attract people and the public attention, it has become one of the most, valuable resources in the society. Because today, a social media influencer may reach more people in a day than a local newspaper can reach in a month. A viral video may shape public discourse more effectively than a government or any other report. A hashtag, if you talk about, can attract greater public attention than years of academic research. So visibility itself has become the capital, I would say. So, we used to have an era of gatekeepers because traditionally visibility was controlled by newspapers, newspaper editors, television, broadcasters, publishers, film studios. They decided what stories mattered and which stories were being placed on page one or the last page or the third page, which voices deserved attention, which issues related the public sphere. But media scholars, we all called this gatekeeping. Visibility was scarce because only a limited number of individuals and issues could enter the public discourse. But if you see the other side, you see the digital promise when social media emerged. Many believed, gatekeeping would disappear. The internet had promised us so many things: democratization, participation, equal opportunity, citizen journalism. So anybody could publish. Anyone can publish these days. Anyone can speak. Anybody, could become visible. So the dream appeared very revolutionary, yet, the reality became more complex. Because if you see gatekeeping, traditional gatekeepers, they have not disappeared. They have been sort of, I would say, replaced. Today, visibility is governed also by algorithms. So platform determines whether, what will appear on timelines, what will trend, what will go viral, what will get recommended, what will remain hidden. So algorithms has its own, visibility. So unlike newspaper editors, or, algorithmic systems, they are often very invisible. The users see the outcomes, but rarely understand the process behind them. So this creates a new concentration of power. The crucial question becomes that who actually designs these algorithms? Because those who design visibility systems, they shape the public reality itself. Now, when you talk about platform capitalization, today's largest media companies, they are not traditionally media organizations. Meta is there, Google is there, ByteDance is there, X is there. So these organizations also control unprecedented amounts of human attention. So their business model depends on only one thing, which is capturing attention. As I told you, the importance of attention economy these days, because attention generates advertising revenue, it generates user data, it generates market value. So therefore, visibility is not not distributed equally, I would say. So it is distributed according to economic logic, and content that generates engagement often receives priority. So this can produce so many consequences, like sensationalism becomes more visible sometimes, outrage becomes more visible, polarization sometimes become more visible, misinformation can become more visible. So visibility is often awarded not on the basis of social value, but sometimes on the basis of market value also. So, uh, it is invisible, if you try and understand the politics of invisibility, every discussion of visibility must also address invisibility. So for every person who becomes visible, countless other remains, unseen. So media power operates not only through what is shown, but through what is ignored as well. So many communities, they remain underrepresented, like, it can be some indigenous populations or some rural population or some migrant workers or some, persons with disability or, linguistic minorities could be there. Marginalized social groups could be there. So their experiences, they frequently receive limited media attention. So the result is what communication scholars, all of us, call it, as a kind of a symbolic annihilation. So when groups rarely appear in media representation, society may unconsciously perceive them as, less important. So invisibility becomes a form of exclusion there. So when we talk about the economics of visibility, visibility has become a marketplace in itself. Today, individuals, they actively compete for attention. This can apply to, any celebrity or any politician or any university or any brand or any journalist or any activist, because increasingly visibility can be purchased through advertising or sponsored content. So public relation campaigns or influencer partnerships, this raises a very important democratic concern also. If visibility can be bought, does public attention become a privilege of wealth? So the answer to this is often yes, because economic power, it frequently translates into communicative power, I would say. So those with greater resources can amplify their presence while others struggle to be noticed. One of the very defining features of contemporary media is the transformation of ordinary individuals into visibility entrepreneurs. Influencers do not merely create content, they provide and they produce visibility itself, because they understand that algorithms, they understand audience psychology, they understand engagement metrics, they understand platform trends. So visibility becomes a sort of labor, and creators, they constantly perform. It could be the self, it could be the identity, or it could be their lifestyle, it could be authenticity. But ironically, the pressure to remain visible often creates anxiety, burnouts and, constant self-surveillance. So the politics of visibility is therefore also the politics of emotional labor. Now, when we talk about democracy, a healthy democracy, it depends upon visibility, I would say. Democracy also requires so many public debates, information access, representation, accountability. So media visibility can expose, if media has been doing it for last many years, it can expose corruption, it can expose human rights violations, it can expose environmental destructions, it can expose the corporate misconduct. So historically, when we talk about journalism, it has played this role. Visibility can therefore empower the citizens. But there's an other side also, which is hyper visibility. So some issues, they receive excessive attention, while some others, they just disappear. And media cycles often, prioritize spectacle, or they prioritize crisis. Sometimes they prioritize personalities or celebrities. So, structural inequalities are there. There are long-term policy challenges. There are social welfare issues. So there are these issues which have been highlighted, and, democracy sometimes suffers when visibility becomes discontented from public significance. Now, the role of AI, if we talk about artificial intelligence, it is, all of us are aware of it, that AI is rapidly becoming a very new visibility infrastructure. So AI systems, they are increasingly determining search rankings, they are determining recommendations, news feeds, content moderation, audience targeting. So, but who is training these AI systems? That is the question. Which languages are being prioritized? Which cultural perspectives dominate the database? Which communities are overlooked? So, without careful governance, AI may reproduce existing inequalities while appearing very neutral to a layman. Invisible biases can become institutionalized through technology. So AI also plays a big role in this system. When we talk about India, when we talk about global south, or the visibility inequalities, the possibilities, the politics of visibility, it's also geopolitical. So, when you talk about global media flows, they also remain uneven. Events in certain countries, they receive extensive coverage because events elsewhere often receive minimal attention. This creates what scholars, all of us, describe as visibility hierarchies. So some regions become permanently visible, some remain very peripheral. The global south frequently experiences representation through an external lens also. Therefore, whatever narrative goes, they're often very simplified, or it might have a complex reality, which are reduced to stereotypes. And local voices are also marginalized. So this challenge is not merely increasing the visibility, the challenge is ensuring visibility with dignity, with, agency, with self-representation, all of this. If we talk now we were talking about the global south. If we talk particularly about India, India is offering a very fascinating example of, competing visibility regimes. We observe simultaneous growth of mainstream television. We don't have any restriction on the cross-media ownership in India. So the one who is running a print organization can also expand into television, can also expand into internet or digital, or can also expand into, radio and other, business diversifications, as we know. So we observe the simultaneous growth of mainstream television. Now it is the digital that has taken over. As per the FICCI report 2025, digital has taken over the television, which was the largest segment for the last many years. So we observe the growth of digital television, regional language media also, and influencer ecosystems also. right? So many of the celebrity if you see the digital media portals, which are the standalone digital media portals in India, they are actually run by the star journalists or the celebrity journalists of India. For example, if you talk about the print, Shekhar Gupta runs it, who worked, 19, 20 years for the Indian Express. Siddharth Vardarajan, who was once the editor of the Hindu, is running the Wire. Raghav Behel, who was once the owner of Network 18, is running the Quint. So there are people who are running the digital portals. So we see simultaneous growth in all the platforms here, including the influencer ecosystem. So on one hand, more voices are entering the public discourse, and on the other hand, attention increasingly concentrates around political elites or celebrity cultures or viral content. So we have to maintain a balance. How can we do that? Meanwhile, many important issues remain underreported, which can be rural distress, it could be local governance, it could be labor concerns, it could be environmental challenges. So this demonstrates that greater media abundance does not automatically produce greater visibility or greater visibility diversity, I would say. We have to reimagine visibility as a public good, basically. When we talk about this as a public good, perhaps the most important question before us is should visibility remain a commodity, or it should become a public good? So if visibility is treated purely as a market resource, then we have wealth in influencer attention, I would say. Platform influence discourse is there, algorithmic influence is there, so public consciousness is there. But if the visibility is treated as a democratic resource, then we must ensure inclusive representation. So there should be more diverse voices in the media systems. If one of you will own 40 channels, what will it do? It will bring in homogeneity in news. If 40 of you are owning 40 different channels, then it will bring heterogeneity in news. So if one of you is owning those 40 channels, the plurality of news will die. So we must ensure inclusive representation, more diverse voices in media systems. We should ensure algorithmic transparency, because greater accountability in platform governance should be there. There should be public interest journalism, because support for journalism that prioritizes civil value, over engagement metrics, that is very important. Media literacy should be there, because, it helps citizens understand how visibility is manufactured. I'm sure you must have read this book called Manufacturing of Consent by Noam Chomsky, who says that only 80% people don't understand this politics, and only 20% elite people understand the politics of all this. So we should have digital rights, because it ensures equitable participation in digital public spheres. So basically, who owns visibility? At present, I would say visibility is shaped by an intricate network of media institutions, technology platforms, government, corporations, algorithms, and economic power. Yet, visibility ultimately concerns something which is deeper. It concerns recognition, it concerns dignity, it concerns citizenship, it concerns whose experiences are acknowledged and whose experiences are ignored. So in every society, there are voices that dominate the spotlight and voices that remain in the shadows. So the challenge before the scholars, before the journalists, before the students sitting here is, that it is not simply to, increase visibility. The challenge is to democratize it, because a truly democratic media system is not one where everybody is merely allowed to speak. It is one where everybody has a fair chance of being heard. Because as we move deeper into the age of platforms and artificial intelligence, perhaps the defining communication question of our times is not what information is available. It is who gets to appear, who gets to disappear, and who decides. So the answer to this question will shape the future of media, it will shape the future of democracy, and it will shape the future of human communication itself. Uh, I would just say that, that visibility is so important, and whom you are listening is so important, and who gets to speak is more important, who is highlighted is important, who is ignored is important. So keeping all this in view, you have to decide what kind of visibility you are giving to different people, whether it is good for the public good or not. With this, I rest my case, and all the best to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. You left us with a very pertinent question and a very pertinent thought that how visibility in itself is very intrinsic to the democratic process. You spoke of how visibility should be viewed today in the digital age as power and how it is unevenly distributed. You spoke about how today visibility is being managed and commodified, and it has almost become a marketplace that might lead to democratic crisis. You also have asked us to view it from how it has taken a departure from traditional gatekeeping visibility and try to look into how people are designing visibility, AI is designing visibility, and algorithms are shaping visibility. Thank you, ma'am. That was very, very interesting to listen to. I now request Professor Shubha to please take the stage.
चेंजर चाहिए नहीं ऐसे ही करते हैं ठीक हाँ ठीक है
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Professor Meenal, for having me here. Buroshiv Das Gupta, sir. Delight to meet you and to be at SNU and in Kolkata. Professor Surabhi has actually set the tone for me. She said many things that I wanted to say, so there might be some repetition when you hear me speak, but I'm bringing in a slight twist to what she has said. This is a part of a research that I'm doing, a much longer research, which I often talk about whenever I get a chance, that I'm doing with a colleague from Manipal, Dr. Praveen Shetty. We are together looking at or understanding the living cultures of Tulu Nadu. Tulu Nadu means, Tulu is the language, Nadu means the land. So the land of the people who speak Tulu, that is what it is. And the land has very rich living cultures. And I'm taking one example from that. Before I begin, I would like to ask the audience, how many of you have seen the film Kantara? There were two versions of it, Kantara and Kantara 1. Glad to see so many hands raised. So the topic given to us was who owns visibility, media power, and the politics of being seen. So I'm trying to contest and say seeing and being seen, the media power and the ritual culture from the land that I come from, Tulu Nadu. When we speak about visibility today, as mentioned by the speaker before me, we often talk about media exposure, social media reach, viral content, etc. But visibility is definitely much older than all these media technologies that we know of and talk of today. Every society has developed their own ways of deciding what deserves attention, memory, and collective recognition. So today, I want to bring up or present to you how the living cultures of Tulunadu ask who owns visibility, the communities, the rituals, the media institutions, or the algorithms. So there's something called the Bhuta Kola, which in Kantara you might have seen. It's a very vibrant ritual performance in the traditional land of Tulunadu, that is on the coastal Karnataka. It is actually rooted in the local spirit or the local deities that are known as the Daivas. And it serves as a unique blend, a spectacular blend of religion, of performance, of oral history, and of community governance. What happens is, during these rituals, trained performers who probably have been doing it for generations embody the Daiva. That means they are possessed by the spirit or by the spirit deity. And through the elaborate costumes, music, dance, and trance, become the medium between the divine and the community. Beyond its spiritual significance, Bhuta Kola is known to preserve the local histories. It reinforces the cultural identities and provides a space for dialogue, for dispute resolution, and for collective memory. It remains as one of India's most enduring living cultural traditions. It is actually an occasion where traditionally a landlord who hosts or organizes the Bhuta Kola occasionally, many a times once a year, where the performer, who, like I said earlier, in the embodiment of the spirit of the Bhuta, dresses up in very traditional costumes, listens to the concerns of the people, offers solutions and remedies. These solutions are actually presented in the presence of all the people in the neighborhood. That means the community that he or she lives in, and all the people witness this event. So it kind of becomes an institution of justice and fortifies that people's belief in Bhutas exists and the trust continues. I'm going to play a short video of what the Bhuta is for those who are not too familiar with it. Is the audio connected to the laptop? No. Is there audio cable? Is it? Thank you. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about the delay. Please give me a moment. If it's a problem, then I'll just play. I'll just play the video. It's okay. You can see what it is.
No. ब्लूटूथ देखो ब्लूटूथ कनेक्ट करो नहीं हो जाएगा
Bhutakola is a name which may have become familiar to many after the Kannada hit film Kantara. Bhutakola is a ritualistic art form from Dakshina Kannada and Udupi districts of Karnataka and the northern parts of Kasaragod district in Kerala. The term Bhutakola is derived from the Kannada word Bhuta, meaning spirit or deities, and Kola, meaning play. The Bhutakola is an oracle, and prayers to it are believed to bring people fortune and relieve them of their problems. The Tuluvas, who speak the Tulu language, believe in animism, and the Bhutakola is performed to invoke their spirits of nature. The Nalike, Parava, and other tribes of the region have the traditional right to perform the kola. The incantations the performer utters are in Tulu. The Nema or kola, as the performance is called, usually involves a fierce dance accompanied by drums, music, and other rituals. The trained Bhutakola performer in a possessed state provides the answers to the community and is revered as the manifestation of God himself. The ritual performance that starts in the night goes on into the early hours of the morning. The Bhutakola performer is decked up in an attire entirely made of intricately woven palm leaves. The elaborate face painting is similar to Theyam, the ritualistic dance form practiced in northern Kerala.
Yeah, that was a very brief introduction to what Bhutakola is. It is actually an all-night performance, happens near the temples of these deities. So what once used to be a family or a community event has become a spectacle with the cinemas like the Kantara or the social media in the digital space popularizing it. Visually, it is distinct, as you saw. For a believer, it is pious. For a spectator, it is a photograph or a social media post. Belief system has transformed. The performer has become an actor. The event is directed by the economically powerful people. So when I show you this picture now, when I show you this picture now and ask you who is visible here, most of us will immediately notice and say the performer because we just saw the video. Some of us might say Daiva because I just explained it. But look deeper. Visible here are the community history, ancestral memory, relationship with the land, and a collective worldview. This image reminds us that visibility is not just the visual, it is social, cultural, and political. We often assume that if something is important, society will notice it. But like Professor Surabhi mentioned, that may not be true all the time. Many important realities remain invisible. Visibility is produced. Someone decides what gets attention. Someone decides what becomes news. Someone decides what should trend. And therefore, visibility, like she said, itself becomes a form of power. So the argument that I put forth today is very simple. Visibility is not merely being seen, it's about who has the authority to determine what deserves the collective attention. And throughout history, different institutions have competed for this authority. And in Tulunadu, the rituals like these often perform the role of that. Today, digital platforms have increasingly claimed it. I draw upon very interesting theory by Nick Colry, who says, to understand, he argues that media derives its power from what he calls the myth of the mediated center. The idea is that media presents itself as a place where society becomes visible to itself. If it appears in the media, it seems important. If it doesn't appear in the media, it often disappears from public consciousness. What he said is quite profound if you look at it this way. Media is powerful not simply because it communicates information, it is powerful because it claims authority over what counts as a social reality. Let me repeat that. It is powerful because it claims authority over what counts as social reality. It tells us this is what matters. This is who matters. This is what deserves attention. And that is the fundamental question about visibility. Now, before the mass media, many of us will relate to the folk living cultures of the regions that we belong to. Every culture had its own centers, mediated centers, long before any of the mass media that we talk about came into our lives. In my region, it was the Bhutakola, or the Naga Mandala, or the Naga Aradhane, Yakshagana, and many of these living cultures, Yakshagana, all happened in temple courtyards and in fields after the harvest happened. These were not merely cultural events for those days. They were spaces where communities gathered to negotiate meaning. So many multiple layers of meaning that it was not documented on paper, but it was documented in memories of people passed down from generation to generation. So when I look at Bhutakola as a ritual or a performance, I see it more as a communication. It's a system of meaning making. It communicates values. It preserves oral histories. It mediates disputes. It connects the present with ancestral memory. And in many ways, it functions as a living communication, maybe a communication institution per se. Now, modern media frequently creates spectators. People watch, consume, and react. But Bhutakola operates very differently because people don't simply come to watch. They come to participate in it. Meaning emerges collectively. The community is not consuming the content. The community is creating meaning in the content. And that is very crucial. Now, the Kantara that is also probably the center of discussion. The first movie, Kantara, came out in 2022. In 2025, last year, we had the Kantara Chapter 1. Together, they have grossed 1,175 crores and above worldwide. The investment in it was less than 1/4 of that amount. Now, why do I bring in Kantara? Because no discussion about Tulunadu and its living culture can ignore this film and its sequel. It transformed Bhutakola from a regional cultural practice into a national or probably a global conversation. And this, of course, generated immense pride amongst all of us, but it also raised a lot of questions. What happens when a community's ritual enters global media circuits? Who interprets it? Who benefits from it? Who controls its narrative? Traditionally, the basis of all this was the community and the belief system. Today, it has transformed because the idea of connection with the divine power has become a saleable commodity, and it is consumed more by outsiders. Naturally, because the number of outsiders are more. New structures are in place to convert this experience, which was so much rooted in the community and its land, into an experience that takes joy in the exotic, in the distant from real life situation or situation that it gives to its audience. So the process of providing a unique cultural experience using heritage and belief system makes the participant move away from the actual experience. Because it is available to everybody now, it becomes a cultural capital for tourism, for entrepreneurs, and for people who invest in it and get most out of it. Again, taking Kantara as example. So, What we are witnessing is traditionally visibility emerged from community participation. Today, visibility increasingly emerges from the algorithmic selection. Earlier, meaning determined the visibility. Today, engagement determines the visibility. The center of attention is actually shifting. Visibility is not always empowering. Sometimes excessive visibility creates simplification. Like, for instance, the costumes that we saw, they're so exotic, it travels very fast and stays in the memory. The performances stay faster, travels faster and stays stronger in our mind. But the philosophy behind the Bhuta Kola probably just doesn't move anywhere. People may recognize the images while remaining unaware of what the deeper meanings are of the Bhuta Kola. So hypervisibility can sometimes produce a new form of invisibility. This is basically what I'm trying to say, the difference between ritual visibility and platform visibility. All these words and terms have been spoken earlier also, so I'm not going to get into that. So who owns visibility today? It's a word, it's a term that's very dispersed. Communities shape visibility. Media organizations shape visibility. Influencers are strongly shaping visibility. Platforms take pride in shaping visibility. Algorithms are actually shaping visibility. So the challenge for us is understanding how these forces are interacting. Like the main theme of this ICA conference, the digital divide or the divide, today is no longer about access, I think, because it is increasingly about amplification, about who gets discovered, whose stories are circulated, whose cultures become more visible, and who remains unseen. These are the new inequalities in today's world, invisibility. So who is visible, who decides, who benefits, are the questions that help us analyze not only the media, but in this context, culture, technology, and the power that comes with it. So I would like to conclude by saying living cultures of Tulunadu teach us something very important, that visibility is not merely about attention, it is about meaning, it is about memory, it is about belonging to a region. Traditional rituals remind us that being visible should not be separated from understanding. So the question is not whether traditions such as Bhuta Kola or any of these living cultures should become visible. Shouldn't we have, I'm not saying we shouldn't have films like Kantara, they absolutely should. But the deeper question is whether communities can retain the right to define what that visibility means. Because ultimately, the future of media power may depend not on how much we see, but on who retains the authority to decide what seeing means. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am, for introducing us to the ritual cultures of Tulunadu. Kantara, yes, we had heard, but this journey that you showed us of Bhutakola, from the family events to a spectacle, was a great learning. Also, the theoretical grounding of Nick Colry also, it just made the concept of visibility clearer, and that very powerful statement that media is power because it claims authority over what counts as a social reality. It was wonderful, the presentation and the work that you're doing. Thank you, ma'am, for your time and presentation. We would now like to open the floor for any questions that you may have. Yes. Can we please have a mic?
Yes, very good evening. I am Ranu. This question is possibly for both of you, ma'am. I was wondering when we described or discussed visibility, this cannot be just an answer for the spiral of silence or cannot be cracked completely. But I would like to know from both of you any kind of visibility on any platform. What kind of degree of vulnerability is associated with that? Especially when we look from gender, caste, class, or any perspective which is the core reason for hierarchy or exploitation. So visibility is appearing perhaps as a solution more, but I am concerned if it is not addressing vulnerability properly. So would you like to reflect on that? Thank you.
Check, yeah. So being teachers, I think we can start talking a lot. Vulnerability is a very good point to consider when we talk about visibility. But I would also like to, because you mentioned that, the first thing that came to my mind is the global media monitoring report that I generate, that I used to work with. Every 5 years, we check on the role of presence of women in the news media, right? And what we see in that is that representation of women is extremely low. And the kind of women who are actually present in the news across the different platforms are probably politicians, sportsperson, or actors, or victims, right? A common woman is just not visible. So we're probably still talking about being visible, and then we get into the discussion of being vulnerable. Over to you.
Yeah, so I would like to say that I mentioned it in my speech also, that how visibility is changing the dynamics of power and hierarchy. So those who are more visible, they get more attention. That is attention economy, right? So this is the whole marketplace. You know, as in the era of television, we would say that, you know, it's an age of TRPs. Similarly, today we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Meta, we have Twitter, we have Insta. So we have bloggers, we have influencers. So those who are more visible get more attention in the society. Those who are invisible, they are actually vulnerable because people do not get to know about them. Right? So yes, vulnerability is deeply attached to the power of visibility and attention economy, right? And that is why I said that it brings unequal opportunities for the people, right?
We have another question. We have 2 more questions. We have 3 more questions. That's what
You're
happens.
welcome, unless you are getting delayed for the next one.
No.
Ma'am, thank you so much for the presentation and this wonderful speech, actually. The question that I have is mostly about subaltern communities. Subaltern communities are building their own alternative platforms. They have their own alternative platforms like ShareChat. And in the Hindi belt, like in the Bihar, UP, Hindi-speaking belt, they have something called Moj, which also belongs to ShareChat, where they are trying to build a community similar to a YouTube or an Instagram, where they are present in those mainstream platforms, but they don't get that kind of visibility there. Hence, they have their own. And on those platforms, they are extremely popular. They have their own, 30,000, 40,000 followers for them, which is a big deal. So how is that going to help bridge the inequality that we are talking about in this context?
So yes, Miss, you are absolutely right. See, there are many regions, there are many states where people are building parallel and alternative platforms. To name one of them is from, I think, Chhattisgarh. CG Netswara, if you've heard about it. Shubhranshu Chaudhary launched it. And it's a very powerful community radio that he launched from there. So he is bringing in the problems of the natives, right? So with this, I think he is trying to bring visibility of those people whom she called vulnerable in the previous question to the mainstream media also. Because the stories that are very important are being picked from them and being brought to the mainstream media as well. You take the other example, if you take the example of PARI, PARI, which is People's Archive of Rural India, which very big, development journalist, P. Sainath, whom I met first time in Kolkata conference only. And if you remember, we were together and we met him. So he was talking about Pari, wherein he is highlighting the problems of rural India. And it doesn't go unnoticed. Mainstream media picks it up from there and then does highlight, and brings to the notice of, other people. So some stories are so strong that these subaltern media platforms bring, and it's in every region that they are doing it. Similarly, community radio is, spreading in every area. They are also trying to bring in, problems of all the rural, community. So I think that helps a lot.
My opinion is that it's okay to have an alternative platform because certain sensitive information or news or ideas get lost in the cacophony of the mainstream. Yeah, so what needs to be picked up, like she says, will come this side. And it'll take some time for them to be more popular this side, but it's okay to still have something, there's a place for them to talk.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that, if you've heard this Youth Ki Awaaz. So this guy, the business model of this guy is that he doesn't write himself. Students are writing for him. College students are writing for him. So in one day, 500 to 1,000 stories are being published. So there is an audience. There is an audience which is reading that. Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Kajal Shah. I'm a research scholar in the Department of Mass Communication and Media Studies, Central University of Punjab. And ma'am, my question is to you, is one sentence you uttered in your lecture that in the era of gatekeeping, and me and my colleague, we just stumbled upon that and we talked for 5 minutes. I want to know how the dynamic or the degree or the perception, or whether we call it branches of gatekeeping, has changed in mainstream media in terms of visibility. Is it more loose? Has it tightened? I mean, I'm working on marginalized community. I'm working on the tribal women of this West Bengal. How are they using mobile phone? Okay, so what I can see that they have maybe 100 followers on Instagram, okay, but they are showing the visibility comes for them. Visibility is showing their culture. The sari they are wearing, for them, it is like the authority they are showing on the media, okay. Whereas in terms of my question, that is gatekeeping, we often see कि mainstream media तो ये दिखाएगी नहीं. We all get to know from the YouTube channels. So how the dynamics has changed in terms of gatekeeping in mainstream media, that I want to learn from you. Thank you. You, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure if you're a student of PhD, you must have read Wesley and McLean's model of gatekeeping.
Yes, yes.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have an A, you have a B, you have a C, and how, different news pour in, and some are gate kept at the level A, reporters themselves, some are gate kept at the editor's level, or, the news editor's level. So now, these days, in the era of YouTube, if you have a YouTube channel, you can directly post anything, publish anything. Yeah. Where is the gatekeeper? Yeah. So, for example, I have two boys in my class. One has a YouTube channel and he has a following of 1.5 lakhs. And another one has a meme page and has a follower of 1 million. So, who will gatekeep? As a professor, I was talking to him, see, this is politically right, this is politically incorrect. But where is the gatekeeper? So therefore, in the era of YouTube, in the era of social media, where you have an X, where you have Facebook or Insta, you can post anything. You can make any reel and you post. There are no gatekeepers here. Even if you talk about laws, you have digital guidelines as of now on the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting website. But where are the concrete laws? So, the demand is on, the things are happening. But as of now, the gatekeeping model for the media has changed. That's what I feel.
Thank you, ma'am.
One last question.
Good evening, ma'am. On this particular note, I want to add a little question to you that do you think that visibility of news and information is today influenced more by public interest or the way social media platforms decide to see? Thank you, ma'am.
You're comparing between social media and
Public interest.
public interest. So they both go hand in hand, right? They both have to go hand in hand, because when I'm talking about alternative media, or you're talking about digital standalone portals like the Pari or others, like the Better India, like the Wire, like the Print, so they are also bothered about the society. When I was talking about talking to all these owners for the interviews for one of my books, I realized that they do not want to run on the advertising model. They want to run on the subscription model, right? But how many of us sitting here pay and read? We don't pay for an article behind the paywall. We do not subscribe to read, right? I am sure only one or two people must be subscribing to some digital portal. But whenever you open any digital portal, the first pop out will be please subscribe, because they do not want to get into the politics of advertising and run that, because then again they will have a pressure from the advertisers to run news or whatever in the way they want, right? Like the traditional media is heavily dependent on advertising, right? So when we talk about television, yes, they were more bothered about TRPs, television rating points. Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. But when you talk about YouTube, when you talk about social media platforms, so platform economy is different. They are running into creator economy. They are running into attention economy. They are talking about, the algorithms also work for those who are, more visible. So they make them more visible. So there are algorithmic, probabilities which will make you more seen, right? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an honor to close the conference with those very powerful statements. Thank you for traveling from afar to be a part of the conference. We are grateful, indebted, and honored for the time that you have given to us. Thank you. I now request Professor Parikh to please felicitate the guests with the certificates of appreciation.
We are coming to the closing stage of this 3-day conference, and towards the end, we will have, of course, the valedictory session, which will start now. And for the valedictory session and for the valedictory lectures, we have the honor of having with us two very distinguished guests from whom we will listen to some very valuable words. I have the privilege and honor to call upon Professor Debnaran Bandyopadhyay sir, former advisor, West Bengal State Council of Higher Education, Government of West Bengal. Sir, if you can come on stage, please. And we also have the honor of calling Professor Durgesh Tripathi, Professor, University School of Mass Communication, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University on stage. Before the main program starts, I have the privilege to give a small introduction of both the very esteemed guests. First, I'd like to give the introduction of Professor Durgesh Tripathi sir. He is a distinguished academician recognized for his significant contributions to the field of digital media, youth and online education. He holds the rare honor of having presented his insights at the esteemed House of Commons in the British Parliament, where he shared the stage with the editor of the prestigious New York Times. His commitment to the democratization of higher education is evident in his advocacy for open educational resources and MOOCs. Dr. Tripathi firmly believes in harnessing digital mediums to ensure that education reaches every individual eager to learn, upskill, reskill, or explore lifelong learning opportunities. Once again, we warmly welcome Professor Durgesh Tripathi, University School of Mass Communication, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University. I have the honor to call upon our Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay sir, to felicitate Dr. Durgesh Tripathi sir. I would request Pro-Chancellor sir to stay on stage to honor and felicitate Professor Debnaran Bandyopadhyay, former advisor, West Bengal State Council of Higher Education, Government of West Bengal, and former Vice Chancellor, Bankura University, and former Professor, Department of English, Burden University. Now the time for valedictory lectures. First, I would request Professor Debnaran Bandyopadhyay sir to deliver his lectures.
First of all, thank you very much for kindly inviting me to this very wonderful conference. This is the 76th Regional Hub Conference, ICA Regional Hub Conference. I'm really very pleased to be able to come here. And I also am particularly grateful to Professor Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay, the Pro-Chancellor of this university. And I've been asked to generally comment on the idea of communication inequality. As I consider the subject position, I find that it's an interdisciplinary subject, and it's very difficult to properly assess the importance because it actually underlies a lot of theories, a lot of theoretical principles. When I started thinking about it, I was reminded of a very important book written by Frederick Jameson that was Postmodernism, the Rise of Late Capitalism. In this book, Frederick Jameson refers to a postmodern architecture, which is a hotel in Los Angeles, the Westin in Los Angeles. Now, he gives us his ideas about this particular hotel. There are many, many entrances, and you can very easily enter the hotel, but you don't know the exits. There are so many exits, but it's very difficult to get out of this. So on the basis of this, we find that Frederick Jameson is trying to comment on the interdisciplinary thought patterns which create a confusion, by means of its interdisciplinarity. And it ultimately becomes a subject of communication. How we communicate, how we understand it, how the meaning is created, how the meaning is disrupted, all of these questions actually come up. So when I was considering this specific subject, I was reminded of this book. And I also remember a book which I had to read in long back in 1970s. It was written by I.A. Richards. I.A. Richards wrote a couple of books. Number one, The Meaning of Meaning, which was published in 1926. It was a co-edited work with Professor Ogden. And after that, in 1929, he wrote another book called The Principles of Criticism. In both of these books, his essential emphasis was on communication. How communication actually is created. How should we consider the marker of this kind of communication? I have a target audience in front of me, and I have to talk to them. I have to make myself understandable to them. So how can I do that? So this is the primary contention that actually becomes the central subject of I.A. Richards' book. So there he brings in the theory of facets. He tries to suggest that in this complex society, everyone moves on with a very definitive facet. He has a facet of mind. He has a facet of culture. And when the communication is being generated, it means that the communication that creates a facet is compatible with the facet that he talks to. So therefore, it is the facet, it is the role of the facet which becomes important in the subject of communication. So that's why the subject position should be very definitely considered. And I was reading a book by a Japanese scholar. He published it from Nagasaki University. His name is Yukio Tesuda, and the name of the book is Language Inequality and Distortion in Intercultural Communication. This was published long back, 1986, from Nagasaki University, and there he makes a comment. I will give my comment later. He says, we live in an age of global communication, where international and intercultural exchanges of products, as well as ideas and values, are essential parts of life. That's all right. He's talking about the global communication. We are no longer considering the individual facets. Rather, we are considering the modes of global communication. And he says, but there are many forms of inequality. This is what we can very easily understand. And Tesuda also very carefully considers the kinds of inequalities which exist in different forms of communication. And therefore, I give you an example. For instance, United Nations recognizes only 6 official languages. Only 6 official languages: Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. And working languages are limited to English, French, Russian, and Spanish. So you can very easily say that the idea of communication is now limited to a select number of languages. So what about the other languages? What about Swahili? What about Bengali? What about Hindi? So they are not recognized. So this is how the power syndrome begins to work. So that's why when Foucault very carefully emphasizes this idea of the power in his book, Discipline and Punish, there he very definitely points out this idea of communication, but whom to communicate, how to communicate. Should you be understood by a group of target people? So that means that is very carefully limited by the syndrome of power. So this is what he wants to suggest, and that's why I think that we should try to consider the idea of post-truth. This idea of post-truth is very significant in the domain of communication and its inequality. What is post-truth? We know that truth has always been a very significant matter. So that's why we know that Pilate asked, where is truth? What is truth? But this idea of truth becomes further fabricated in the post-World War period, starting from there. So post-truth actually is a fabrication. It looks like truth. There is some amount of truth also. But the facts are cut down, reshaped, and resized to create a new opinion, which in Greek is called doxa. So alete and doxa, truth and opinion, they are in fact presented in such a manner that the real truth gets submerged. So this is the age of post-truth in which we are, moving through. And I will not take much time because I have already been said that there is only 10 minutes. So I will just give you a basic idea of this communication inequality theory. It actually refers to differences in the generation, manipulation, and distribution of information. Information among social groups, information as far in relation to differences in the social groups. And the most important is the access to the use of information. We have the information, but do we really have an access to the information? So that actually creates the question of power. It is a power that dominates and that allows you or doesn't allow you to access the information. So that's how the second is the attention to media content. And finally, recall, reshape, and reorganize the kind of individuals which will act as the target audience. So we find that this communication inequality is a very significant kind of subject where the images, voices, and narratives circulated media and public discourses play a vital role in shaping how we understand many different social groups and their communication strategies, and how these groups are treated in society. Communication is not just a transmission, as we commonly think. It's not just about transmission. It is also about creation of meaning, who gets to speak, whose series are told, how these narratives are framed in a given society. So all of this should be very carefully considered. So thank you very much. It is very brief, but I had so many other things to say, but there may be some other occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable word. We just listened to Professor Devnarayan Bandyopadhyay, former advisor, West Bengal State Council of Higher Education, Government of West Bengal. Now we will listen to Professor Durgesh Tripathi, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saikat. First of all, I'd like to congratulate to the SNU and the team led by Professor Minal Parikh and her team, Arindam Basu, Saikat Majumdar, Jumru, and many faculty members and the volunteers that they have organized a very wonderful kind of international conference that we have discussed, deliberated, and to understand and feel enlightened to understand about the inequalities and equity in the modern era or in the 21st century. I feel great honor to be the part of this ICA valedictory session to discuss and throw some light about the basic ideas of inequalities in the mass media or in the contemporary communication society. I would like to thank ICA also because they have permitted, allowed SNU to organize such kind of a basic idea, understanding, and the commitment for the civil society to organize such kind of a theme, topic, in the very intellectual city of our country, Kolkata. As we know that Kolkata has very rich, very intelligent kind of a intervention related with the equality or equal society, as well as for the equitable society in our nation. If we look about the communication, communication is not merely transmission of information. It shapes power, participation, and representation. We have already discussed and we have already go through some of the power-packed plenary session and presentation. Inequalities today are not only economic, but also, as we know that our country has very distinct kind of geoclimatic, geopolitical, very diverse kind of socioeconomic conditions. But we have to commit it for the equitable society where there is no inequality in our society. If we talk about inequalities, we can be able to see that digital inequalities, information inequalities, language inequalities, and we have already seen and found many of the presentation, power-packed presentation, led by the linguistic marginalization, inequalities in our society. Algorithmic inequalities, as we know that Facebook, Meta, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, many of the social networking sites, they have inequalities and they have already admitted by their owners of these social networking sites. And educational inequalities. I don't want to discuss, to know and to throw light or in-depth research related with the inequalities in the education system in our society or in nation. But media and communication systems can either reduce or deepen social divides. In the AI and platform era, access to visibility itself has become unequal. If we talk about the equalities and equitable society for the educational institutions, as we know that United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4 is related with the quality education. And the UNSDG 4 related with the quality education is stressed about the no restriction, no differentiation between caste, creed, religion, and region if we are providing our quality education to all the society. So that as a teacher, as a scholar, it's our duty, it's our primary duty to enhance and to engage with each strata of our society. After that, we can be able to say that we are providing the quality education to all the strata of our society. And if we talk about media, technology, and society, digital platforms have democratized expression of ideas, expression of your valuable insights, experience, but also created echo chambers, misinformation, disinformation, data colonization, and attention inequalities. And I do believe that the audience has already been gone through some of the power-packed presentation before of this session about algorithm, about inequalities in digital platforms, social networking sites, etc. And AI-driven recommendation systems influence political opinions. I do not want to discuss each and everything related with the same that you have already observed and experienced related with the Cambridge Analytica, IPAC, and some of the organizations that they have political opinion forming kind of practices, and they have already done so many things related with the same. And the public discourse, youth culture, knowledge consumption. And we know that if we are going to establish our country as the capital of the knowledge economy, we have already discussed in the previous panel discussion, we have to think about, we have to perform, we have to commit for the equal society and equitable society. After that, we can be able to say that, and we can be able to assure that we can be able to contribute our best of efforts, potential of knowledge to establish our country as the capital of knowledge economy. And nowadays, role of academia and researchers, how a teacher, how a faculty member, how a researcher can be able to contribute their best efforts for equitable and equal society. Universities, higher education institutions must become spaces of critical dialogue and socially relevant research that they have already stressed by Professor Devajyoti Chanda, Professor Santwan Chattopadhyay in their speech. And communication scholars should engage with grassroots realities, community voices, policy issues, policy intervention, media ethics. We have already discussed and talked about AI ethics, but media ethics comes first. Digital literacy. Digital literacy is the foremost important point in nowadays for a society related with civil, to ensure civil society in our nation. And research should move beyond theoretical frameworks and address real societal concerns related with the marginal voice, related with the equitable voice, related with the equity and equitable and equality in our society, related with the issues and concerns. And encourage interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary collaboration between media, sociology, political science, technology, and public policy that they have already stressed on various points, and they have already elaborated by Professor Santwan and Professor Devajyoti Chanda. And now, as we know that we are running against the time, it's approx 5 p.m. It's the third day of this very prestigious ICA conference. Now I would like to conclude with some of the basic idea of the same. Our country presents unique communication challenges. Linguistic diversity. You know very well about the linguistic diversity in our country, in our region, in our vernacular languages, in regional languages as well. And rural-urban digital divide. It's the most important point nowadays to understand and to reduce and to bridge upon between the digital divide in our rural and urban society of our country. Unequal media access. We have to ensure the equal number of access of rural and urban society of our country, and representation gaps. Community media, regional journalism, and public communication remain extremely important to establish the ethics, the basic idea related with the equality and equitable society in our country. One thing I would like to state that as we are discussing this kind of a very pertinent topic and contemporary topic in our very prestigious University of Kolkata and West Bengal, NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, and digital education have opened new opportunities, but also exposed accessibility gaps. We can be able to debate and to discuss about the gap between digital infrastructure, the lack of infrastructure, related with the digital support. But we have to focus, we have to contribute our best of efforts for the same, so that we can be able to say that we have already contributed, and we are committed to contribute our best efforts for the equality and equitable society in our nation. And to encourage young researchers we can see that many of the young researchers, research scholars from Central University of Punjab, from University of Delhi, from GGSIP University, from other regional hub, they have already participated and they presented their best of insights related with this theme and topic of this ICA. We have to encourage young researchers to ask difficult questions. And I feel great honor and I appreciate my salutation to the participants, to the young researchers of this Augustus gathering, that they have already actively engaged with their question with the resource person. We admire like a critical question to ask and to discuss and to know each and everything with their own perspective to understand about the future direction or future of knowledge. Study emerging technologies critically so that we can be able to understand that how we can be able to use AI and other platform for the betterment of the society. Maintain ethical standards. It's our primary duty as a teacher, as a scholar. It's our primary duty. And produce socially meaningful scholarship. After that, we can be able to say that we are contributing our best of efforts to establish our country as the capital of the knowledge economy or a Vishwaguru. Communication research must contribute to inclusion, democracy, and social justice. I remind that the previous conference, media conclave that has already been organized by the Mass Communication Department, by Sister Nivedita University, led by Professor Minal, Arindam, Basu, Saikat, and all the team members. They have already organized a very contemporary kind of a media conclave earlier, I think in the last year. Again, I would like to congratulate to all the presenters, all the scholars that have actively engaged and presented their own insights related with the theme. And I would like to acknowledge all the intellectual, all the scholars, all the faculty members and researchers that they have organized a very meaningful international conference on the topic of very contemporary topic related with inequalities. And now I feel great honor to be the next part of this ICA conference in this university, in Sister Nivedita University, and I would like to request to ICA board to organize the next year to any other topic or a contemporary topic to engage the researchers, scholars from all over country, as well as from the international participants to organize such kind of a meaningful conference in the Sister Nivedita University again. Thank you again. I feel privileged, I feel honored, humbled to be part of this very prestigious kind of a ICA regional hub conference organized at Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Durgesh Tripathi, for your very informative and very valuable words. Now I have the honor to invite Professor Dr. Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay, Pro-Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University, to deliver his closing remarks. Sir.
So every good thing will come to a close. And after 3 days of constant brain-teasing lectures and a fantastic presentation by the different scholars, I really wanted to congratulate the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, its Dean, Professor Meenal Parekh, and the whole team, as well as all the participants of this conference, for making this conference a real success. And as Professor Durgesh is mentioning, I also think that all of us right now should request ICA to have this not only the regional hub, but the main conference in Sister Nivedita University. And we should go forward to that. Because you know that if we look at where we are standing in this conference, 108 papers been presented during this conference. So it's not a matter of joke that 108 different types of discussions, different contents, presentations are there. So let's give a big hand to the presentations first. And also, I could find it out that there are resource persons from all the different places of our country as well as international, is around 45, including the REACH. The panel discussions are also very exciting. And all these things are actually only possible because of the hard work given by this whole team of the mass communication. Specifically, I could see the young students who are actually worked so hard. So I know that I must thank all the great person, but I should thank the students itself because of their continuous support to make this conference a real success. And to end, I should say that when I looked at ICA, it's an International Communication Association, but in context to this, I must mention that ICA, these three alphabets, stands for Inequalities, and then communication, and the accessibility. So these three are actually making this conference so successful. So thank you. Thanks to everybody who participated in this conference, along with the presenters, the panel discussions, and the participants. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. Now, before going to the certificate distribution part, we will have a small, very small program without whom our program could not have been a success, without whose cooperation our program could not take place. We want to honor them. I'm calling them. Please come on stage. First, I would like to call. Okay. Sir, you may come. First, I would like to call Mr. Santosh, our executive chef of Sister Nivedita University. If you can come on stage, please. Then our admin team, comprising Mr. Tulsidas Nayak, Mr. Abhay Sharma, Mr. Gora Bhattacharya. If you all can come on stage, please. I would like to call upon our Pro-Chancellor, sir, our CFO, sir, and of course, Dr. Meenal Parekh to come on stage to felicitate them. And also PDG, sir, please. Now we will start the certificate distribution. I would request my colleague Sudeshna to come on stage and call the names. I have the honor to call all our distinguished guests to come on stage for the certificate distribution, please. Durgesh Tripathi, sir. Survi ma'am. Our Pro-Chancellor, Dhrupajyoti sir. Shubha ma'am. And Buroshiba sir. Mrinal sir. And of course, Dr. Minal Parikh.
Yes.
I'm calling the names. Those who were present, please come on stage. Khushbu Shah. Khushbu Shah. Dr. Shayantika Datta. Dr. Shayantika Datta. Dr. Shayantika Datta, are you there? No. Next, Ishika Bhaduri. Yes, if you were there, please raise your hands, then we can understand that you were there. Ishika Bhaduri. Next, Shubham Mondol. Please raise your hands when I call your names. Mrinal Rai. Vikram Rai. Mr. Vikram Rai, are you there? Navnita Subba. Navnita Subba. Yeah. Dr. Pooja Basnet. Dr. Pooja Basnet. Dr. Pooja Basnet. Rosie. Yeah. Atrey Ganguly. Atrey Ganguly. Shumon De. Next, Onkita Bhattacharya. Ritoban Basu. Ritoban Basu. Sujala Khawas. Next, Kajal Shaw. Next, Priyanka Roy. Riya Mukherjee. Usnagari Sandeep Kumar. Chettupalli Anvesh. Chettupalli Anvesh. Are you there? Nilanjana Shom. Ipshita Roy. Ipshita Roy. Yeah. Next, Aprotim Bhattacharya. He is so popular, you can find out. Next, Shovik Shur. Next, Oishwarya Dhar. Oishwarya Dhar. পদ্মিনী নন্দী মজুমদার। নেক্সট চিন্ময় ডেকা। চিন্ময় ডেকা। নেক্সট তন্ময় গোস্বামী। Dr. Kingshuk Pathak. Dr. Kingshuk Pathak. Sharnendu Dam. Tamalu Banerjee. Tamalu Banerjee. Ayon Maiti. Ayon Maiti. Atri Banerjee. Dr. Ranu Tomar. Sahil Mishra. Sahil. Aditya Narayan Paul. Ratad Naga Deepika. Pritha Roy. Here, she's coming. Dr. Mukesh Kumar. Dr. Abira Chaudhary. Dr. Abira Chaudhary. Shomopriya Bose. Shomopriya Bose. Sudipto Das. Poulomi Nath. Attendance. Shomi Banerjee. Shomi Banerjee. I repeat these few names. If you are there, please respond. Poulomi Nath, Shomopriya Bose, Dr. Abira Chaudhary, Oishwarya, Dr. Shayantika Dotto. And last but not the least, one more certificate is to be awarded. Professor Dr. Jhumur Dattogupta. Shomi Roy Chaudhary Mukherjee. Saman Mariam Nasir. Oh. Adrita Roy. Yes. Yes. Can we call everybody for a group photo? All the paper presenters, our faculty members, our dear colleagues, please come on stage for a group photo. And our dear students. Tanushri Das. Please come on stage, please. I request everybody to take your seats, please. We haven't completed yet. I request everybody, it's, we haven't completed the program yet. Just wait for 5 more minutes. I would like to ask our volunteers to tell everybody to sit. I request everybody to wait for 5 minutes. We will play a 3 minutes wrap-up video for all 3 days, and then Dr. Minal Parekh will give the vote of thanks. Please wait for those 5 minutes. Can we play the video? Now, Dr. Minal Parekh, I will request her to offer the vote of thanks.
Just to add that in this video, we missed the third day because the third day was taking place. We will definitely add the third day to this, and we will share on the ICA page as well as Sister Nivedita University page. I'm too tired actually to give the vote of thanks, but yet to conclude the day, big thank you from the core of my heart to my Chancellor, Shri Satyam Roy Chaudhary sir, without whose support I would not be able to carry so many batons in past 8 years. He's a perfect example of women empowerment. We were talking about gender inequalities today in context. So I can say that the day I joined university to the day I am here today, he has given me enough opportunities to showcase my strength, and ICA 76th ICA Regional Hub Conference is one of them. So my heartfelt thanks to him for giving me this support. Our Pro-Chancellor, Sir, Shri Dhrupajyoti Chattopadhyay, Sir. In fact, I've been consulting him for this conference on day-to-day basis, and the illuminatory panel that I have, his contribution is major. Getting 4 vice chancellors on stage on day one was not an easy task for me. He supported me. He supported the cause, and he knew that that we would be able to pull off this conference. So my thanks to him for always being present. He's just a call away. And whenever we need any suggestion, when we are stuck with many questions in our head, he's always there. And I've had the privilege of working with him at Amity University, as well as here when he was our Vice Chancellor, Sir. So thank you so much to him. Our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Shri Anupam Basu, who had just taken the chair when this conference was already in the process. So when I told him that, sir, you've just joined, I want to do this conference, and he was with open heart, he said, of course, please go ahead, and whatever help you need, because you can understand in a university, for us to get approvals, to get going things, not that easy. All professors and administrators are here. You know how difficult it is. So when the bosses above you are cooperating with your vision, it becomes much easier. So thank you so much, sir. Our SNU administration, they were all here. We felicitated them. And what happens that at the end of the day, everything that looks so beautiful, their support is very important, because जैसा हम लोग बोलते हैं शादी में सब कुछ अच्छा होता है लेकिन खाने में थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा नमक हो जाता है तो बोले यार अच्छा शादी अच्छी नहीं थी. Though you have done everything very good, maybe the bride is looking beautiful. So thanks to the administration team for helping us in the auditorium, the classrooms, the technical sessions, and being there with us early morning. So every day at 10 when we started, they were there with us. They were before the session started. So Tulsi ji, Abhay, and Gorada, I don't know, he's not there. I don't know if he's there, but he's a very silent worker. Thank you so much, sir. And of course, Santosh, our chef, because this time we thought that we are going to use our canteen, and as much as facility that we have within our university, we will do it. So thank you so much. Apologies for having vegetarian food, because I thought that it's 3-day conference. If you have vegetarian food, it is always good for your gut. So no complaints, nobody had a bad gut, nobody had a bad stomach, because that's why I go for vegetarian food when it's a conference for 3 to 5 days. And the team, CFO sir, he was there. Nothing can be possible without having the budget in hand. Yes, of course, बहुत मान मनवल करना पड़ता है. 100 रुपए से फिर 50 रुपए, फिर 25 रुपए, फिर 75 रुपए. So a lot of things have to be done. But then eventually, I am a master of that, and another master of mine is Namashish, who is a trained professional in this. So we keep on arguing and bargaining, and then finally our budget gets sanctioned, approved, and it's easy for us to, take it to this level. The team from Fine Arts and Design, led by Mr. Sanjay Sengupta, he's the assistant dean also of the school. Very silently, he has supported me, being throughout the 3 days. Sometimes, in your home also, when your parents are just there at home, you feel at ease, even if they do nothing. So there are some characters in your life, if they're just around you, I think it's a safe place, because you know that if you fall in trouble, or if there is something which you cannot discuss with anyone, there is one person who you can open your heart. that आज थोड़ा पानी की बोतलें कम है, थोड़ा खाना कम है, or maybe the guest has arrived, गाड़ी नहीं है, these small issues. So he has been there with me. His team has been there, their exhibition that they had put up. And of course, my team. I am nothing without my team, and that is how I have sustained these years in the industry, that I believe in team playing. I speak very less on mic because I feel that, I don't know, somehow I feel that, me speaking alone doesn't look nice because I am a part of the team as a whole. So that's a halo around me, that is my team. Arindam Basu, Sekat Majumdar, Pritha, Jhumur, Shuman Chakravarti, I don't know if he's there or not. Very, very silent worker who has designed all these. All the branding and designs have been done and implemented by him. So the designs that you see are so professional, and also the abstract book, the brochure, everything is done by in-house, by our own faculty. And the students that you see designing today are all trained by him. So a silent worker for me, but I really thank him from the bottom of my heart. Sushmita, quiet again, but very, very effective in my team. Bhaskar sir, Shobhan sir, Santosh, he's a professor of practice with us. Silent, being my friend, staying around wherever I need help. Sudeshna, she is a cinematographer by choice, but she has turned into academician now, coming in my team. So all the certificates are written by her. So thank you so much. And my very young team. I don't know whether they are Gen Z or millennial, but I think a very young team. And they have made me young. So people call me and tell me nowadays that, Meenal, itna tum young kaise lagti ho? I said, probably it's the team that is there around me. The kind of memes they share with me and the memes I share with them, if you look at them, you'll really laugh because we share memes with each other. So that's the ambience that I have around. I thank this young team of mine. They have brought a different kind of perspective to work within me. I'm more liberal. I think I'm more flexible and with less of attitude and more of love to everyone who's around me. So Namashish, nevertheless to say, he's the backbone of my whole system. The SNU fraternity knows him by heart. So I don't have to say much. But yes, of course, all the technical glory that you see today is because of him and the mini versions of him that he has created, which is a true quality of a leader which he holds. Shavik Sur, very balanced, very focused. I'm blessed to have him in my team. Oprotim, new joinee, but I, again, very, very blessed to have him. I'm sure the ICA community knows Oprotim by now because he has coordinated the whole ICA conference single-handedly. So sending mails, talking to the presenters, compiling, and then the seniors pitched in, but he has built the base. So thank you so much, Oprotim. As I said, I'm learning from them. Such cool-headed, and when he wants, he always asks me questions, difficult questions. So thank you so much. Rishi, he's not here with us in this auditorium, but backhand, he has done a lot of work on the website, on all the content that was there. So Rishi, Prerona, I know many of you know Prerona because she's been booking all the hotels, the car, and though Prerona is working for the hospital, but I've hijacked her for 3 days. And apart from hospital, all nonsense work that I give her, she does all that. And she's been my student, so I'm very, very happy that very, very smart and intelligent worker. She knows what to do where, and I think I share a kind of language that I share with very few people. Another one I'm missing over here is Udit. He's not here. He's working somewhere at a very prestigious organization. But these students of mine, I think the language that I share, I don't have to speak much. They understand me. Jonaki is there, and the youngest probably, but very efficient. The mother of the department, youngest, but yet the mother of the department. Satyajit Samanta, he is also there. He's my scholar also. He has done a lot of backhand work. Kishore is there. He's been there behind the camera, but very, very important person in my team. Pardon me if I'm taking a little time because these people deserve a lot of applaud. And another mini junior team which I have, that is Tushar, Samraghi. These two are my students, but working in the technical team. They are right now part of Sister Nivedita University. Abhishek is there. Rajiv is there. Very nagging, very irritating, but yet he does the work at the end of the day. So all posting that you see at the end of the day on social media is being done. Whole social media is being handled by Rajiv. So thank you, Rajiv. I don't know if you're listening to me from somewhere. Shrestha, another new addition to my team. Kingshuk, I know everyone. You don't have to prompt. Kingshuk and Juganto. And we have Narayan. So these are also behind the camera. They are looking at the PCR. I believe Sister Nivedita University has a strength with technology, and the team that is trailing at the end, the junior team, sub-junior team, and the little team, I think they master in that. So heartfelt thanks to each one of you from Meenal ma'am with lots of love. And not to forget all the guests of honor who have been present on all 3 days for the plenary, for the lectures. I'm really obliged for coming to Sister Nivedita University. And not to forget, last but not the least, Noshir for giving me this opportunity of hosting at Sister Nivedita University, this regional hub. This is our first effort, and I'm sure with whatever hard work that we put forward, we would definitely get a second chance and third and infinity chances. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a good day and enjoy your evening. And we end with the national anthem. Thank you so much. I hope I have not missed anyone now.
I request everybody to join us for the high tea in